Welcome to Heaven on Earth, a sacred portal to visualizing, meditating, and co-creating our highest joys that usher in the Golden Age of Aquarius. I'm your host, Athena StarSeed. Hi, this is Athena StarSeed, and we are here today creating our own reality. And I always like to open the show Heaven on Earth with an invocation. So if you're watching live on Facebook, thank you so much for joining us. And I just want to encourage you to just sit up, take a nice deep breath, and inhale and exhale. Great. So here's our opening invocation. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of men, let light return to earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men, let the Christ consciousness return to earth. In the center where the will of God is known, let the center guide the little wills of men, the center which the masters know and serve, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. May the plan of love, light, and power restore heaven on earth. Archangel Michael, Gabriel, Uriel, and Raphael, Father Sky and Mother Earth, from the point of light that connects us all, please be here in the sacred circle of light. Om, om, om. All right, so today I'm very excited. We have an incredible guest. His name is Alan Steinfeld, and he has been in, I would say, like the consciousness movement from the beginning, over 35 years, and started out in cable access out of New York. And I have been watching his show probably for the last 15 or 20 years since I started waking up myself. And he has been one of my greatest mentors. I love his show. I love who he is. Welcome to Heaven on Earth, Alan Steinfeld.
Thank you, Athena. Okay. I'm getting a little feedback, but that's okay. So tell me, what should we talk about today?
Well, actually, I really wanted to talk about where you started from the beginning, because you always interview everybody, and I haven't actually really heard an interview on your story and who you began with and how you decided to actually do this show in the beginning.
Oh, okay. That's great. I am getting feedback. Is that on your end?
Let's see.
No.
I don't hear any feedback, no.
Okay. I think I'm hearing it through you, or as I speak, I'm hearing it back through you.
He needs to put his headphones on.
Oh, you need to put your headphones on. If you do that, I think you're not going to have an issue. Do you have headphones for your computer? Okay, while he's getting his headphones, I'll just say this one thing. I started out in the fitness industry, and I thought about transformation for the mind, the body, and the soul. So I took fitness outdoors and I gamified it because I knew people really wanted to change the way they looked and change the way they felt. And I did that for a good 15, 20 years. And then I realized, you know what, the body fat and the working out is really a side effect of how you're feeling spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and physically. And every time I got to that common denominator, I was like, you know what? We have to address the spiritual issues of our little earth suit and how we came into being. And so I realized that people ate because of emotional reasons. They ate when they celebrated. They ate when they were upset. And they started packing on these pounds to have themselves feel more protected and safe. And so looking at their consciousness and how they perceived their reality, whether it was safe and healthy for them, or whether it was an adverse reality where people were like, oh, I'm afraid to be who I am. Possibly some things happened in their childhood that led them to believe that the universe is not a safe place and that they needed to have extra pounds to protect themselves. And so peeling off those layers got me to start really looking at the spiritual causes of all ailments, all disease, in all different directions. And so that led me on my own journey. And in 2006, I had a little bit of a spiritual awakening. I had been going through the internet. I was looking at a lot of Alan Steinfeld's work on new realities, his thought leaders. And I was thinking, wow, this guy is really fascinating, interviewing all of these people who had found their road to Om, their inner road in, and their peace and their bliss started to become a fountain of their extension of their own reality, what they were creating based on how they were feeling. So I was really fascinated by that. So, Alan, can you go back to the beginning?
Yes,
so what
okay.
did you do before you were spiritual for a living?
Before I was spiritual, I was in college. I was studying psychology because I thought if I really wanted to understand people, I should understand, how people think, because I was fascinated by people and the whole human drama that goes on planet Earth. So I went to college, studied psychology, but after 2 years, I realized that I wasn't really understanding what I wanted by looking at psychology. It was mostly statistics and charts, and then I took a literature course, and I realized that these writers knew more about people than all the psychologists, or most of the ones that they prescribe in textbook psychological courses in college. So I studied English literature, and then in literature, I read for 1 whole year the books of James Joyce, Stream of Consciousness, especially in Ulysses and Finnegan's Wake. So it was about the mind, it was about consciousness. Even though he wrote about the dramas, it wasn't that spiritually based, but I sort of had an understanding for the mind. I mean, what was the mind possible beyond the psychological perspective? And I got back to New York. I went to school in Buffalo, and then I moved back to New York after college. I was from the New York area. And there was just an awakening. The Aquarian revolution was happening in post 60s, 70s. I got to New York in the late 70s, early 80s. And it was the kind of beginning of what was called the New Age, although that has a very bad name now. No one wants to be called New Age because it just, I guess it's deteriorated. But in the early 80s, there was a sort of spiritual awakening. I guess this was part of the beginning of the Aquarian age. I would say the 1960s kicked it off, or what they call the dawning, like that song, The Dawning of the Age of Aquarius. I think that really was in the 60s with the cultural revolution in music and art, and everything that would happen in politics, in people's revolution, in protest. That all began in the 60s, which was a kind of very Aquarian understanding. But in the 80s, in the early 80s, it sort of came into more of a spiritual context, I would say. So I was looking for some kind of spiritual tradition. I knew psychology wasn't the answer. I thought I wanted to be a psychologist or therapist, but that was too boring, listening to people's problems every day. I mean, some people like that, and it's very helpful and useful for a lot of people, including myself, but I didn't want to do that all day long. And I was looking for some kind of spiritual tradition, but I didn't want to go about following any guru. The Rajneesh movement was big at that point, and everybody was wearing maroon and having a little picture of Rajneesh around their neck. And first of all, I didn't look good in maroon. That wasn't my color, and I didn't want to wear anyone's picture around my neck in their mala. So then there were some other traditions. There were some other, I guess, spiritual Hindu-based religious type of ideas, and there was also the Western religions. The Kabbalah was coming in, mystical Christianity. I even joined the Sufis for a while, and then a friend of mine actually left some tapes in my apartment, and this was from a 35,000-year-old warrior from Atlantis. This was channel tapes, and I didn't believe channeling was something logical or possible. I was still coming more from a psychological perspective, but I listened to these tapes that were channeled, and first of all, I didn't believe in the idea of reincarnation at that point, or that someone could step out of the way from their consciousness and let another consciousness come through. So I wasn't open to this idea, but I listened to these tapes anyway, and on the tape there was a question and answer dialogue with Ramtha, who was the channel being, and this woman in the audience, and this woman was talking about a skin condition she had, and she tried everything for it, and she went to doctors and medicines and creams, And then she asked Ramtha what she could do, and Ramtha said to her, "Have you tried loving it?" And that was like, really? I mean, but you could see there was a shift in that, in the woman who was asking the question. You could feel that, and then in me, it's like, oh, try loving it. That was a really novel idea. That was really original, and I thought, if this was a teaching about love, then maybe, even though I wasn't open to the fact of channels, or people could step out of the way and let somebody else come in from a higher level and communicate, then I would check it out anyway. I would check out this channel who was going to be coming to New York, and because, it doesn't matter who the messenger is, it's the message, and if the message was about love, well, that was pretty good. So I did go to an audience in October 1981, and 73rd Street in Central Park West. There was a small audience there, and J.Z. Knight, who channels Ramtha, was there. A very pleasant woman, like, a bleach blonde housewife from Tacoma, who wasn't very articulate as herself, but when she transformed or channeled this being through, there was this profound wisdom, and I sort of was open to the idea, well, maybe it is possible to access other levels of consciousness or other beings or higher states of awareness if you just step out of the way of the personality. So anyway, Ramtha was there, and I was sitting in the audience, and Ramtha, then I was sitting in the back, and he points at me and says, "What say you, beloved entity? How be you this day in your time?" And it's very archaic language, and I said, "Me?" He says, "Yes, indeed." And then something shifted for me. It's like the reality in the room, or the fabric of reality, just sort of melted away, and was a sort of a mystical moment. It's like, actually, it was a mist in the air, and it was a shift in consciousness that happened to me at that moment. It was like an awakening of something I was beyond the personality. It happened in that moment in 1981, and it's like, oh, okay. Then it was that moment I knew who I was more than my body. There was a greater essence. It sort of woke up, and from then on, I've been pursuing new realities as a sort of verification of that moment. What happened? Who am I? Where are we going? Why are we here? And once you walk through that door, there's no walking back the other way. You cannot. Yes, go ahead.
Well, we are going to get ready to go to commercial break, but I really want to acknowledge the fact that once you do walk through that door, you cannot go backwards. And anybody listening to this show, every time I listen to Alan Steinfeld, I am eternally changed from my DNA all the way through, because he's got such thought-provoking statements like the love, considering that love could heal anything in your body if you love it, even if it's a scab or a mark on your face, anything. So, this is Athena StarSeed. This is Heaven on Earth, and this is a portal of possibility to change your own reality. We'll be right back after these commercial messages. Thanks.
When you really want Italian food, you've got to get to Colombo. The place you wish was down the street from you. Seekers of luscious and appetizing gustatorial pursuits, indulge your fancies with steaks so absolutely yum-yum, vegetarians have forsaken kale and Pilates and never look back. Fish specialties so fresh and delicious and chosen by King Neptune himself, and relish Colombo's Italian family specialties so delectable you'll be yelling out, "Bravo, bravo!" And let's not forget Colombo's world-famous meatballs, and you've got to try their breakfast pizza. Oh, and jazz every night. Service that's friendly, not fawning, and at a price that'll keep you coming back. That's Colombo's, that little neighborhood place you wish was down the street from you. Colombo's, Manja.
What are you going to do with your old car? You can try selling it, you could junk it, or you could donate it to Heritage for the Blind. Your car will be towed away for free, and your donation is tax deductible. Just call 1-800-785-9618. Heritage for the Blind accepts cars, vans, trucks, and boats. It doesn't matter if your vehicle runs or not. It will be towed away for free, and you'll be supporting those that need help. Heritage for the Blind is a nonprofit organization that helps the visually impaired live fuller lives. Call right now to donate your car, and as a special thank you for calling, you'll receive a free 3-day vacation voucher to many exciting locations. Call Heritage for the Blind right now, 1-800-785-9618. Donating is easy, and your vehicle is towed away for free. Plus, you'll get a free vacation voucher. Call now, 1-800-785-9618. That's 1-800-785-9618.
Kaanapali Beach Hotel, Maui's Hawaiian Hotel.
Aloha! Experience your home away from home being beachfront at the Kaanapali Beach Hotel. Begin your getaway relaxing on over 11 acres of tropical Hawaiian gardens at Hawaii's most Hawaiian hotel, voted Best Aloha Spirit by Hawaii Magazine readers. Just walking around the grounds with all the tropical vegetation, relaxing poolside, or kicking back in the sun on the world-renowned Kaanapali Beach makes you feel like you're home in paradise. There's a package to fit all your needs: wedding, honeymoon, activities, private parties, great food, or just good old beach fun. The hotel perpetuates the Hawaiian tradition at its best. Call 661-0011 or visit kbhmaui.com.
Kaanapali Beach Hotel, Maui's Hawaiian Hotel.
Hi, this is Athena StarSeed, and this is a series called Heaven on Earth, and we are on CRN Talk Radio with one of my favorite mentors, Alan Steinfeld, who has been on the cutting edge of consciousness for the last 35 years, and he has actually really interviewed some of the top spiritual heart, soul, and minds of this planet, and he has really, put in this, I think Alan, Oprah, and Wayne Dyer really ushered in this golden age of enlightenment, because he was on like the front lines of putting some of these way showers on his cable access show when nobody was really doing that. And they say things on his show, so check it out on YouTube, that they can't really say on network television. So we're going to go back to you, Alan, and we're going to talk about, so you were with Jay-Z Knight, you had a transformative experience, she addressed you directly, and your reality shifted.
I just want to say that's something Deepak Chopra said to me, because every time he writes a book, he comes on my television show, and he says, I come on your show because I can say things here I cannot say on television, on mainstream television. This is what he said to me. So that was a great testimony to alternative media and to presenting the kind of real spiritual facts, in a way, ideas that will change people's lives. So anyway, what did you ask? Going back to what?
Well, after Ramtha, because here you are, you're going through this psychology experience, and you're realizing that's not the way in for you, and then now you're studying all these different traditions, and then you see this channel, and the channel blows your mind, and now your reality shifts, your perspective shifts. So how did you get from there to having your own show?
Well, after I did have that experience, that awakening, I wanted to just take every workshop I could that would inform me or help me realize this deeper part of myself. So I did tons of human potential stuff with, things like the Forum, although that's not so spiritual, but it does wake you up to different possibilities, Jungian ideas, sweat lodges, dark room retreats. There's probably hundreds of workshops that I did starting in the early 80s, all through the 90s. And then when I sort of ran out of workshops to do, there's always another one, of course. And then I wanted to know more, because they still weren't answering some of the questions. So I thought one way to get more knowledge was to talk to these people running these workshops, these visionaries, these spiritual leaders, these human potential people. So I started my talk show, my new reality talk show in the mid 90s, I guess it was. Actually, it started in Santa Fe. I was in Santa Fe studying acupuncture, and I was sharing a place with a local access producer there, Jonathan Lowe, who had something called the Heart of Healing in Santa Fe. And he said, we were out somewhere doing some interviews. He said, why don't you interview this person? And it was this woman, Rebecca Fitzgerald, who was taking people on dolphin swims. And he said, really? And he said, sure. And I really enjoyed asking questions that I felt other people weren't asking, and to find out what was going on inside that person. What did she experience when she was swimming with dolphins? It wasn't just information I was after. I was after what was their spiritual awakening that was happening. Sort of like you, Athena. What was happening to them when they had these experiences or led these workshops or made these discoveries. And that was the first thing, that was the first interview I did. And then I came back to New York after studying, getting a master's degree in acupuncture, because I was living in New York before that. And then I just thought, okay, I could do this. I could do this on my own here in New York. And there's an endless supply of people. So that's how it began. It also was a way of promoting events, because I was also starting to do promote different teachers coming in, because, you know, after you take all the workshops, you want to introduce that to all your friends. So I started to, you know, host workshops in New York, and now, you know, doing emceeing work at things like Contact in the Desert. So that's still going on. I just hosted in New York Lynn McTaggart, who was brilliant in her understanding of collective consciousness, how group minds can affect healing on people and on themselves at the same time. Not only does the person get something when you send the energy, but you get something for sending the energy. This is what her last book was about, called The Power of Eight. But anyway, that's sort of how it began. I really jumped into the New Age, or the human potential movement, or the consciousness movement, whatever you want to call the spiritual awakening that was happening in the 80s, 90s, and I think is continuing even in a more mainstream way
We
now.
have to go to another commercial break, and we'll be back after these commercial messages. This is Athena StarSeed, and I'm the host of Heaven on Earth, and we'll see you. Stay tuned with Alan Steinfeld from New Realities.
Hi, friends. This is Larry Minetti. Go to LarryMinetti.com to get You'll read all about the wonderful guest stars like Carol Burnett, Elvis Presley, Frank Sinatra, and many, many more. There is an episode guide and my favorite recipes that I really cook at home. I will include a free signed photo with every book. Get Aloha Magnum at LarryMinetti.com. Order now. Aloha.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS? Newsflash, the president has changed the tax laws, and now you may be able to pay the IRS less. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes, the tax doctor can help you pay the IRS as little as possible allowed by law. There are new tax laws for business owners, the self-employed, even W-2 workers. If you have a back tax problem or a few years of unfilled returns, new help to save you money is now here. Call right now to see how the new tax laws can help you. Plus, right now, we'll waive the consultation fee and give you a free tax savings report. Attention business owners, the self-employed, and W-2 workers. Make this free call to the tax doctor now and learn how to take advantage of the new tax laws that may help you pay the IRS less. 800-985-1610. 800-985-1610. 800-985-1610. That's 800-985-1610.
Come to Angelo's and Vinci's Restaurante to see memorabilia of movie stars and theatrical magic right in downtown Fullerton, California. The Art of the Great Masters in an Italian town square complete with storefronts of old, Italian butchers and cheesemongers, fruit and wine vendors, seamstresses showing their wares, the romance of Romeo and Juliet. Find our mystical Room of the Moon, and don't forget King Kong, Dracula, Frankenstein, and who knows what awaits you in the wine cellar. Enjoy the great food. We hand stuff our pastas, roll each and every tortellini, bake our own bread, and make all of our sauces fresh from our private stock of Sicilian family recipes. Pasta to seafood, chicken to award-winning pizzas, tiramisu flowing in from Rome. If you can't find something on our menu to tempt you, you don't like Italian food. Try our Sunday brunch, all you can eat, just $21.95. And Angelo's and Vinci's has been named the best Italian restaurant in Orange County 2 years in a row, and our owner has been named Restaurateur of the Year. Angelo's and Vinci's, Fullerton, California, 714-879-4022 or angelosandvinci's.com.
A New Alchemy, ANUALCHEMY.com, www.anewalchemy.com, to find Oramus and other Siddha medicine. These substances support the unfolding of consciousness in a body when added to prayer and meditation on a daily basis. In ancient times, Cleopatra called Oramus milk. She said, "I bathe in milk to stay young." And the Jews called it manna from heaven. This substance accelerates, amplifies, enriches your prayer and meditation. It is a generic substance that is powered by love. It's compatible with any tradition, any religion. Your prayer and meditation will take you to a deeper place for your interaction with Spirit. ANewAlchemy.com, ANUALCHEMY, all one word, .com.
Okay, this is Athena StarSeed. I'm the host of a show called Heaven on Earth, which is a portal of possibility. And on this show, we're really talking about how to expand your consciousness and why you're here and what your purpose is. And as soon as you can realize those things, then you can get out and get on with it, because I believe that every soul has a gift that's actually a solution to a problem in the third dimension. So if your gift is joy, love, peace, blessings, light, in whatever medium that you want, whether it's painting, poetry, pottery, music, singing, dancing, yoga, food, any type of thing, new energy, bring that to the forefront and share that with all your brothers and sisters on the planet. Okay, so we are here with Alan Steinfeld, and we are talking about how he, after all of his self-discovery, taking all of his classes, and then getting offered an interview, a kind of TV cable show to interview a woman swimming with dolphins and her spiritual experiences, found his new reality, which is basically on the cutting edge of consciousness, him starting to interview some of the top minds, souls, spirits of this planet that ushered in the Golden Age. So, Alan, can you please share with us one of your most profound spiritual, personal experiences yourself that helped you shift your own reality?
Right. I do want to say that what I've discovered by doing my show is that it's all about perception. It's all about how open you are to discovering new realities, and that really changes our awareness of the world. So what happened to me once when I started to find out about spirituality and that there was something called ascension, this is something actually rampant, many other the ancient Egyptians talked about, the ability to change your body into like this physical body can transmute into a light essence. The biophotonic elements within the cells can be activated to transform this physical matter into light. The Tibetans call it the rainbow body. I met someone and worked with J.J. Hurtak, who had an experience of that, and he writes about that in the Keys of Enoch. But when I first heard about it, I wanted to see, I asked for a vision. Okay, if this is really possible, if we can really transmute this physical body, I want to have, you ask for a vision and you can get it, and it didn't show up the way I thought it would. So anyway, I made a little, declaration that I wanted to see this. And then, totally separate from that, I go to a museum. I go to what they call the New Museum, which is a new arts museum down on Broadway in New York. And there was the paintings of Alex Gray. And it was the first public exhibit of his work. I think this was 1985 now. And it was the first public exhibit of his Sacred Mirrors. And there, right at the end of these Sacred Mirrors, if you've seen Alex Gray's work, you know what I'm talking about. But there's a picture of the body going from physical to light. The top of the head blows open, the feet expand, and there's a actual acceleration. Let me just see if I have a picture of it here. But there's an acceleration within the physical structures. Maybe I could show you a picture of that somewhere. Well, I'll give it to you later. So there it was. There was the vision I asked for. There was the body turning into light right in front of me. I mean, it didn't show up how I thought it would as a vision, an inner vision, but it showed up as an outer vision, just exactly what I asked for. And that realization showed me that if you ask, you will receive. Knock and the door will be open, and not always in the way you expect it, though. That was the other part of the reality that showed me. You ask for it, and you have to really be specific in what you ask for, because you will get it, but not always how you expect it. So not only did that confirm for me, yes, it's possible for the body to change into light, but that our way of creating reality through intention was also possible. So that was one little thing. How's that, Athena?
That's pretty exciting, because I have my own connection with Alex Gray. I was, it was 2005, and I was doing my personal training in Toluca Lake. And I basically had taken fitness outdoors, and I had the first outdoor fitness boot camp in the Hollywood Hills. And I had a client fly in from Mexico who was a multimillionaire living in my guest house, and he bought me Alex Gray's book. And he had been doing a lot of plant medicine. He came from a severely abusive upper class family, and he discovered Alex Gray, bought me this book, and I started reading about Alex painting and talking in the morgue to the dead bodies. And so the dead bodies were telling him things about their anatomy, and he was getting data from the other side in the morgue. And some of them got a little pissed off at him, to tell you the truth, because he was like drawing their bodies in the lab, you know what I'm saying? So they felt like, hey, what's going on? But once he had that communication, his art really started to transcend and expand. And then I want to say something else about the rainbow body. We have another connection. I studied about 4 years ago with a Baba, who's a realized master, who gave me a mantra that's a South Indian Tamil mantra that are sounds that help open the pineal gland and shift your body into light. So he told me of Swami Ramalinga, which his name is Valalar.
Ramalinga, yes.
Valalar, and guess what the mantra is? The mantra is Aruperum Jyoti Taniperum Karone, Aruperum Jyoti Ariperum Jyoti Taniperum Karone. I put it in the song in the show. So every time we go to a commercial break, if the people sing that mantra again and again and again, that also helps change your body into light.
I went to the spot in Pondicherry. There's a little square on the floor where Ramalinga supposedly disappeared from, so I know Ramalinga. But I also want to show you, this is the picture that awakened me. Do you see how that's just an acceleration in the physical there? And then, of course, can you see that?
Yes.
On Skype?
Yeah.
That's Alex Gray. So that was the confirmation of ascension. Yeah. So that's actually our destiny. This is what all the great traditions talk about. If you read the Gnostic text, the real Gnostic text, that's what Jesus did. I think in the Shroud of Turin, that's a snapshot of his body changing into light. This is what the great pharaohs, all the great masters knew. This is what Ramtha actually talked about when I first met him, that you don't have to die. Your body has the capacity to transmute this physical reality into a higher light frequency. This is our true destiny. I mean, it's a lot of work. We have to get rid of all the garbage and junk in the way, but that is what ultimately we're here to do, get off the wheel of karma, of incarnation, and be the forever immortal, eternal beings that we know that we are. That's our destiny. And because the frequency of the earth is vibrating at a quicker rate, it might be easier to do that. There's still a lot of old stuff there that we have to work through, but I think we are ascending as a planet and as individuals. So that's exciting. That's really what the whole thing's about.
Yeah, and
what are you going to ask?
Well, I was going to say that, watching your interviews and watching all of the people that you're talking to about, how they're receiving data from these higher planes, and then they're shifting their perceptions, and then they're sharing that information. I mean, you've interviewed everybody from Deepak Chopra to Ramtha, from Bentino, and
Bentino, Massaro, yes.
Yeah, and
Everyone
Bashar
has a little piece. Yeah, and Bashar, love Bashar. I mean, when I was sitting next to Bashar or Darrow when he was channeling Bashar, I have to say I'm partial to channels because that really woke me up. The fact that first, one of the things Ramtha said, the question is not what's coming through that body, what's coming through your body. That's the big mystery around here. Who are you channeling? So we all can do that. But when I was sitting next to Bashar in my interview, I felt this acceleration from the body, and I say to Bashar, can you increase that a little bit? And he goes, no, we cannot, because it'll blow the channel's body out. So but there is frequency. Tesla said everything comes down to frequency, vibration, and energy. So we're learning that as we move into this age of energy, the fact that matter is really frozen energy, and quantum physics is telling us this. So we're moving into the realization energy. Medicine is all energy, realizing that we're energy. If we can accelerate the energy and get rid of the old programs that come up as the acceleration happens, then we start to live into new realities and new awarenesses, new downloads, new possibilities come into our consciousness.
Okay, so I want to ask you some questions that people probably don't ask you, because you don't get asked a lot of questions. However,
anything you want.
Okay, good. Well, I want to talk about ayahuasca. Have you done some plant medicine? And have you done ayahuasca?
Yes, I have done ayahuasca. I have to say I felt really, really blissful on it. I didn't throw up. I've done it about 3 times. But I have to say, it's a sort of false ceiling. For me, it's sort of a glass ceiling. You're looking at the ceiling, you think you're seeing the stars, and you're really seeing the ceiling. And I think ayahuasca is a certain level, but it's not there all the way. I've gotten much higher by going to places like seeing John of God, who's a trance medium, is a spiritist practitioner. Ayahuasca will awaken you if you're really dense. This is what happened to Carlos Castaneda. Don Juan said, eat the peyote, because he was so dense. And then he said, you didn't have to take that peyote if you would have been just awakened to new ideas. So I think plant medicine is okay. I think it's medicine. I think it stops being medicine when you take it every month, whether you need it or not. I think for some people, absolutely medicine. For others, it's a door opener. And once you go through the door, you don't have to keep going through the door. The door's open. Just go through it and start to live that reality. So I think plants are a certain level of vibration, but they're not, they're different than the human spirit. And we're here as a spiritually evolving human race, and not to be plants based realities. They're assisting their teachers. They are medicine, but if you're not sick, you don't need the medicine. So we're here to wake up. And humanity is sick in their conditioned programming that we've all grown up with. But once you take the blue pill, once you realize there's the matrix, then you can look at everything from that perception of awareness that we are bigger than the program that our religions, our governments, our media, everyone has told us we are, that we're this greater human being. And once we know that, I think we can start doing the inner work without the medicine, if you want to. If you want to use medicine, I think it has it's diminishing returns, let's put it that way. Great at first, wow, and then it's like, okay, been there, done that, have the t-shirt.
So
and you're like, how many times can you go to Burning Man?
Right, so let me, I did go to Burning Man. It was a huge awakening. That was one of my...
But how many times can you do that? It's
I went...
incredible, but like... Yeah,
so what I was going to say is, so there are, pro-plant and then, not. I wanted to just talk about, like, do you get to keep what you catch? If you had that mind-altering experience, could you come back, Alan, and integrate that with practical application to your everyday life? Did you look at reality after that differently? Could you keep what you caught?
Yes, the thing is, the more you do it, the less you catch. So you do it once or twice, or, then I think you get more. Once you start to habitually do it, it definitely overshadows the reality that we're here to work in. We're here to work in this reality. So when those doors and windows and perceptions and epiphanies come through, use them, work with them in this reality. This is as high as it gets in a way, this 3D world. If we can be fully conscious here, I don't think we need the plant medicines. Once we learn what that teaches us, how to perceive the realities in that way, once we learn how to see in a seeing of a seer, then we don't need to keep having lessons. So yeah, the idea is to take what you get, the perceptions, the awareness, the inner discoveries, and work with that, and then use that as a path to the homeward journey back to the self. But I think it gets diluted the more you do it.
Did you? Yeah, we have 2 minutes before we go to.
This is my experience.
No, it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Some people might have a great experience and not agree, but that's their, experience.
We have 2 minutes before we go to commercial. I just want to know: did you get anything that you applied to your life out of that? What was your personal message from the plant?
Well, my personal message was, the Terence McKenna talks about how they used to call it telepathine, the DMT substance. I found out that I could just tune into anyone, anywhere, and know how they were doing. It was a sort of a mini course in remote viewing. So I use that all the time to tune into other realities, other people. I even teach remote viewing courses. This is something I teach at Alex Gray's COSM. Once a year I teach that. So I had this level of third eye perception opened, and I also had that when I did ecstasy once, that actually really popped open. But I use those tools, and I use them all the time to feel into situations, to feel into my body, look into other people, to use it in healing work. I mean, those are great gifts.
All right, so
that was one thing.
We are going to go to our commercial break again, and we have 4 more minutes. But when we get back, Alan, I want you to talk about one of your best, most profound interviews, since you've interviewed for so many years. I mean, I'm sure it's so hard, but be thinking about that. When we get back, we'll find out who Alan's most profound interview was with that changed him, and hopefully that will also touch your heart, mind, and soul. This is Athena StarSeed. This is a show called Heaven on Earth, and we'll be right back after these commercial messages. Thanks so much.
You order a glass of your favorite Cabernet, fresh asparagus, hollandaise on the side, a filet, medium rare. You unfurl your napkin with a flair, close your eyes, and prepare to listen. Ah, there it is. The sweet music you long to hear. The sizzle. The sizzle of a Ruth's Chris steak.
The most magnificent corn-fed prime beef, broiled to perfection at 1800 degrees. Some call it a sizzle. We call it an anthem.
As the waiter approaches, you think, is this one mine or that one?
Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. Like Ruth always said, life's too short to eat anywhere else.
Make a reservation online at ruthschris.com or by calling 800-544-0808.
Do you want to fly somewhere, anywhere in the world? Smart travelers call myflightsearch.com for the best deals on flight tickets. Going to Manila, Bangkok, London, how about Singapore? Call myflightsearch.com for the lowest flight tickets available. What about a local vacation? Let's say you want to fly to Vegas, Orlando, Miami, Los Angeles, or Denver. Pick up the phone and call myflightsearch.com right now. We have exclusive deals that you can't find anywhere else. The only way you can get these low airline prices is by calling us. We have so many low prices available, we can't possibly tell them to you right here and now. If you're flying somewhere anytime in the next 6 months and you want the lowest airline ticket prices anywhere, you owe it to yourself to save a ton of money. So pick up your cell phone and call myflightsearch.com right now.
Call 800-445-3166. 800-445-3166. That's 800-445-3166. Call now. 800-445-3166.
Kaanapali Beach Hotel, Maui's Hawaiian Hotel.
From traditional Hawaiian weddings and vow renewals to your own unique ceremony, find out why Kaanapali Weddings is the perfect place to say, I do. Create the memory that will last a lifetime at the place you and your family know and love, Kaanapali Beach Hotel. Imagine yourself and your loved one just steps away from world-famous Kaanapali Beach in one of many wedding venues to choose from, including oceanside lawns, tropical gardens, or indoor banquet rooms. With your choice of catering, bar, floral, and musical options, you can make your special day customized just for you. Their wedding specialists will help you plan your dream wedding today. For more information, visit kaanapaliweddings.com or call 661-0011. Kaanapali Weddings, the perfect place to say, I do.
Kaanapali Beach Hotel, Maui's Hawaiian Hotel.
Hi, this is Athena StarSeed, and this is a show called Heaven on Earth, and we have our last 4-minute segment, and I am so excited to talk to Alan Steinfeld from New Realities on the cutting edge of consciousness, bringing us all of the way showers, the thought leaders, and the beings who've actually had those transcendental experiences, transmuting their body into light. So, Alan, have you thought about who your favorite interview or your most transformational interview was in your amazing career?
Well, I think we need to ground this whole experience of energy transformation, Aquarian awakening, into a practical understanding of what it means to be in the physical world. So when I first heard of Bruce Lipton, this was like in the 80s, I had to seek him out. I had to find him. I had to talk to him. So I think this was before any books were out, before he became, now he's booked up like 2 or 3 years in advance, Bruce Lipton. But I think, when was this? And I guess it was in early 2000 when I actually tracked him down, and I went out. I drove out to the hills in Santa Cruz. Me and my girlfriend Paula Gloria, who helped me videotape a lot of these early interviews. We drove out to Bruce's house. He was, so open to us and so receptive and so happy to talk to somebody about these ideas of epigenetics, that the cells can change, that we're not doomed to our genetics. There's inherited illnesses, but it's the expression in the cells that act out certain gene expressions, and that it's possible for our genetics to change from generation to generation. And Bruce had a real spiritual awakening with his biology, and he realized that it's the attitudes, and he proved this on a biological terms, that affects how our genes express itself. And that's why he wrote a book called The Honeymoon Effect, and he's Biology of Belief is another one. But he was a biological cellular scientist, and he understood this idea of consciousness on the very core biologic, on the cellular level. And he said that everything we can do as a human being takes place in the cell. We reproduce, we breathe, we excrete, we do all these basic structures that happen. And the idea of evolution is to go, or has happened, going from the single cell, and when single cells got together, they hooked up with other single cells and they formed the multicellular organism. But it started, and that multicellular organism recapitulated all the functions of the cell. So what's happening now, and this was a big breakthrough, we as individuals come together and form a community of individuals, and that community also recapitulates the same functions of the cell. So what's happening in this current mode of evolution, or this moment of evolution, is that we as a planetary race are coming together as a unity, as a synthesis of consciousness to form one organism. Bruce says, we're not humanity until we come into this oneness of being. And then when we have a unification of consciousness, where each individuals, like your cells are individuals, but when each of us understands our place within the total scope of humanity, that is a shift to the next level of our evolution.
That is the shift. That is the ultimate shift. Well, we have 30 seconds. This is the ultimate shift in consciousness, is to shift your perspective, not just on.
And then we meet the other, though. This is what he says. We also meet other onenesses out in space. Okay, go ahead. What were you saying?
I was going to say, we have just to wrap the show up, is that when we shift our perspective on a cellular level, we can shift our perspective on a global level so that we become the change. And I just want to thank you for helping me over the last 20 years, shift my perspective with your new reality show. I love you so much. Everybody on Facebook, check out Alan Steinfeld on YouTube. And this is a show, Heaven on Earth. We're here every Saturday on CRN Talk Radio. Thank you so much, Alan. We love you, and we'll talk with you soon. Mwah!
CRN Digital Talk Radio prides itself